In December of last year, the movie Wonka surpassed its low box office projections and set a new bar for movie musicals that won't be easy to beat, while also further encouraging studios to greenlight more nostalgia bait, sequels, and reboots, instead of giving budgets to the scripts that will actually tell original stories and introduce new characters. So what made 2023's Wonka so special that it deserved all of this financial success? No, I'm actually asking you because I watched this 2-hour Willy Wonka origin story, and the most impressive thing about it was how it took me a full week to sit through, because I kept falling asleep or forgetting entire scenes or finding just any excuse to look away from the screen, such as shopping online for the Oompa Loompa costume seen in the thumbnail of this video. Well, technically it's an unlicensed costume called Sexy Factory Worker, which for some reason sounds like such a problematic phrase. Stop objectifying those sexy little orange men. They're just trying to do their jobs, and I'm just trying to do mine by disagreeing with Wonka's somewhat positive critical reception, and by pointing out how this willy-nilly wonky Wonka depiction falls way short of the classic movie that it's attached itself to. Instead of telling the story of how Willy Wonka became an eccentric chocolate recluse with questionable motives as portrayed by Gene Wilder in 1971, Chalamet serves up an overly sweet serving of normcore Wonka, bouncing between meaningless, sappy moments while never fully contrasting them against the much darker themes famously explored by Charlie in the Chocolate Factory novelist Roald Dahl, who introduced us to Willy Wonka in one of the few kids books that isn't afraid to fuck up a few kids. So let's break down the new Wonka movie, which tried to copy Roald Dahl's secret Dickensian recipe of disadvantaged children and untrustworthy adults who don't love you. But they left out some key ingredients, leaving Wonka with little more than a forgettable parade of plot holes and soulless songs, a flimsy main character cobbled together over a year of extensive reshoots, and the role that made Hugh Grant fall out of love with acting, playing an uncanny valley Oompa Loompa that copies the 1971 movie's iconic character design, but with way less sex appeal. If they can't CGI those weird wide hips onto Hugh, then he shan't be appearing in my Oompa Loompa adult fanfiction. Sorry about it. So join me as we unwrap this milk chocolate mishap in a tasty golden ticket to nowhere installment of Clip Breakdown. Hello television viewers, my name is Nick. Thank you so much for joining me once again on my channel for another installment of Clip Breakdown. This is a playlist where we dive into our favorite movies, TV movies, and other such content here on the web, and we break it into pieces like a pre-scored bar of chocolate to give out to all of our friends and family and let them decide for themselves if it's a poisonous, tampered with adulterated confection, or like if it's premium, pure cocoa, and filled with caramel kind of thing. By looking at each individual little morsel and chocolate chip of it and deciding, yes, we love it, no, melt it, remold it, strike that, reverse it, other quotes, other quotes. And we've really got a lot to sink our teeth into here with Wonka. I was surprised when I found out that it did well at the box office, but it did. I think in no small part to some pretty competitive and smart campaigning on the behalf of Timothée Chalamet, who plays, of course, the lead role of Willy Wonka. But before we get into it, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. I would love to have you click that subscribe button right over here. That way you never miss new videos from me. I've also got merch, I've got a Patreon, lots of extra stuff that you can sink your teeth into. I've used that expression twice now. But before we do anything, I think we really need to take our hat off and praise Warner Brothers, the people who may or may not have already copyright strike this video, for their bravery in resurrecting this story that hasn't been told before, except for all of the thousands of times that it has been. Willy Wonka was famously played by Gene Wilder in the original 1971 movie, just a few years after the novel itself was released, and then there was also, in many people's eyes, equally iconic of a performance from Johnny Depp in the 2005 movie Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which reverts back to the original novel's name. Oh, and that congratulatory taking off of my hat was, if you didn't know, sarcasm. This movie was pretty much met with public scrutiny from the moment it was announced. People kind of voiced that they didn't feel like this story needed an origin. We don't need to see where Willy Wonka came from. The mystery is the part of the allure, but also just the fact that we've seen this story retold or rehashed or kind of rebooted so many times, it's dead. It's too many times in the same decade or 2 decades, whatever. That's another reason why I was like, okay, this actually selling tickets though. And it's a musical. Musicals do famously bad box office sales. And from the very first scene of this movie, I knew that this was not a musical worthy of a Tony. They're not bringing this to Broadway anytime soon.
I've poured everything I've gotten to my chocolate. Now it's time to show the world my recipe. I've got 12 silver sovereigns in my pocket and a hat full of of dream.
Hey, this is the part of the movie that actually went viral with some leaked footage from behind the scenes 2 years ago. But I guess the internet didn't bully Timothée Chalamet hard enough to warrant reshoots with better lyrics. A Hatful of Dreams sounds really lame, and it would be absolutely no match for my Hatful of Snakes. They are hungry, venomous, and inbred, and I have a new side hustle, smuggling them across state lines to be used in satanic rituals. No, I haven't had any customers yet, but I would still prefer my brain swelling and scalp full of snake bites over having to watch this movie one more time. So email me at hatfulofsnakes@nickdiramio.com to arrange for me to personally deliver your bundle of aggressive satanic snakes surviving solely off the chunks of my hair that they've been eating, and prepare yourself for an experience that is still far more pleasant than watching Wonka starring Timothée Chalamet. And an ass full of cream. I hate his stupid voice when he sings this, and he makes these faces throughout the thing that I'm like, ugh, go home. Timothée Chalamet's parents spelled his name like he's straight off of the French Riviera. You were born in like New York State. Go away. What is with the SAG names that people choose? And I don't know if you've heard the recent rumor that has been denied that Timothée Chalamet has gotten Kylie Jenner pregnant with a baby, but a lot of people think that that whole relationship throughout the last year was nothing but PR to try to drum up like Timothy's star power so that they would go and see this movie at Christmas. And have you heard much from the two of those people ever since? I mean, before this rumor? No. So I don't know. What do you believe? Let me know in the comments below. We see throughout the first number that Wonka basically loses all of his money to this expensive city that he's just landed in, where he's trying to start his own chocolate shop in this like circle of the town where all of the best chocolatiers are. The names of whom you'll remember as the corrupt chocolatiers who were trying to copy Willy Wonka's recipes at the beginning of the first movie. They were told, the names are so hard to remember. Fickelgruber, Slugworth, what's the last one called? Prodnose. Ugh. They are the competing chocolatiers in town who are gonna be giving Willy here a run for his money, but not before he's out on the streets cold with no money when a kindly man, I don't remember his name, he works for the laundry house slash guest house where he offers basically Wonka a place to stay for free. Wonka gets there and signs the dotted line, a contract that has lots of fine print for Mrs. Scrubbits, played by Academy Award winner Olivia Colman. There's this little girl, we find out her name is Noodle for some reason. She's like trying to warn Wonka, but he still does sign the contract. So he's fully unaware of what's about to befall him. And this young lass, Noodle, by the way, is our mistreated orphan of the movie, which you have to have in a Roald Dahl story. It's just part of the charm.
I will teach you a lesson, you miserable little bookworm.
What did I do wrong?
You know what you did. You ever interfere in my business again and you'll be in this coop all week. Do you understand?
I do not understand. About 80% of the Sweeney Todd sounding, kiss me Kate Cockney accented words that came a stumbling and a trembling out of your coked out, stroked out Hogwarts lunch lady mouth just now, Olivia Colman. Olivia? What I do understand is that this is just how the world works in the sick, sad universe of a Roald Dahl story. Again, he was the author of the source material, the novel Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but he avoided having to write a single word of this dreary prequel by cleverly dying of cancer over 20 years before it was made. But don't worry, because the Roald Dahl estate still was involved, and they managed to help capture the most commonly used literary motifs of this beloved children's author, such as mistreated orphans who love to read, abusive guardians with a Carrie White-style punishment closet,
You go to your closet.
and dead parents who seemed so sensitive and nurturing, except for that abusive guardian that they chose to get custody of their children in the case of a tragic accident. In a Roald Dahl story, a character will have a flashback to like a picnic with their dad, and he's like, just remember, sunshine, even after I'm gone, I'll always be watching over you while my horrible of a sister starves you to death and I do absolutely nothing about it. Like, okay, seems like you could have maybe found another relative to pass me off to, but okay, enjoy your untimely death. Noodle doesn't know anything about her parents. She's been with the Scrubbits, that's the name of the laundress Olivia Colman plays, since she was a baby. But enough about that for now, because Willy Wonka goes out into the town square and tries to introduce the public to his chocolates, which at first seem very well received, until Prodnose, McGruber, and Yellow Slug, or whatever, they come out and they're like, oh no, you can't sell your chocolates here, because they tried them and they're like, these are delicious, we can't have this competition. And then it's revealed that these aren't just chocolates, these are hover chocks or something. He put these eggs of an actual bug in there This is what he's saying. And then the eggs hatch in your stomach and cause you to fly. To me, that's not the sign of a great food salesperson, like if you're putting live larvae into the food that you're selling. But hey, this is the story that we were given. Floating people, floating chocolates, whatever. The police come up and they're like, no, you can't sell your chocolates here. They take everything he had, all the money that he was making from selling all of that chocolate, but he's able to keep one of his coins. They call them sovereigns. I'm like, that's a weird thing to call money. What country is this? But he takes his single silver sovereign and gives it back to Mrs. Scrubbits, and she's like, oh, you've actually acquired some additional charges. And then she lays on all of these fees that he didn't know about because he thought that he was just gonna be able to pay like a day later, but she's been charging him for going up the stairs, for using a bar of soap. So he owes like 10,000 sovereigns, which he has to work off by toiling away in the basement where there's like the laundry that they all do. And he realizes he's basically been tricked to be an indentured servant down in the laundry place forever, along with these other characters he meets. There's like a plumber, or a former plumber, a former accountant, a former telephone operator who like doesn't speak until it's a fun time for her to speak, just like we've seen in all of the other movie. Oh, and there's like a stand-up comedian who is not that funny, and it's like these are the quirky cast of miscreants who he's forced to grub around in this, like do the laundry with. And they've all been there for years because they can't pay off their debts either. They were tricked by Mrs. Scrubbits. God, it's hard watching these poor innocent citizens of unspecified European territory struggle with predatory rentals. It's kind of reminding me of our own housing crisis here in the US, which, if you didn't know, was caused by Wall Street. Thanks, Wall Street. Not many people know, but that's a lot of the reason why housing costs and rental prices have gone up so much over the last few years. When you buy a house, you're not just bidding against other American citizens, you're also bidding against Wall Street investors. Back in 2008, a lot of homes were foreclosed upon because people couldn't pay their mortgages, and Wall Street investors started buying up these homes at like great prices and then renting them or selling them for a profit. And as of March 2023, hedge funds accounted for 27% of all single-family home purchases in the United States, often in Black and Latino neighborhoods where they convert these properties into rentals. Luckily, Democrats have introduced a bill in both houses of Congress that would create a ban on hedge funds buying single-family homes, and it would require hedge funds sell off all of these homes that they do own over the next 10-year period and receive tax penalties in the meantime that would go towards helping with down payments for people who need them. This could really make the housing market more affordable by increasing the supply of single-family homes. It's wild that these Wall Street entities were able to profit off of the housing crisis that they caused in part from lending out mortgages to people that they knew couldn't pay them back. Hedge funds are playing games with your financial security and your housing. It's important that we support any efforts that crack down on industries that are driving up the cost of living, and this is one big example. Despite every word I've said up until now, I'll have to be real and acknowledge that this movie is overall not the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, the cinematography is good, and you might even call it a passable extension to the brand of Willy Wonka. You might even consider it good by the standards of other prequels or origin stories that have been released in the last years. Like, did anyone see that Ghostbusters movie? No. And again, that's all validated by this record-breaking box office return. Wonka was the first live-action musical to top the box office since before COVID, the highest-grossing Roald Dahl movie of all time, and Timothée Chalamet's highest-earning movie as a lead. So why do I hate it? The music, mainly. There is hardly one bop or memorable tune in the entire 2-hour runtime of this thing. For comparison, The Greatest Showman earned under $9 million in its opening weekend, despite having several truly iconic songs, many of which have become well-loved anthems, especially if you're a queer person who performs in a show choir. And now, just because Timothée Chalamet has spent the past year in his most challenging role as a person who enjoys spending time with Kylie Jenner, Wonka earned over $30 million more than The Greatest Showman in its US opening, when it has songs like this. This movie can eat my f***ing ass. That's all I can think to say after hearing this music, and that's as close to speechless as my weird personality will allow me to become. I once witnessed a fiery car wreck and instantly started singing Elton John's Candle in the Wind without missing a beat. The paramedics told me that since I'm CPR certified, I was supposed to help. I was like, well, this is also helping, so don't interrupt my song. I can't get proper breath support for my vocals when I'm also giving the breath of life. Don't be stupid. I was trying to share my gift with the public after witnessing a very traumatic accident. So no, belting out a really impressive high note while watching those people die may not have made me a good Samaritan, but maybe, just maybe, it made me a great Samaritan. Also, rest in peace to the victims of that car accident that I caused. The point is, Scrub Scrub is the worst song I've ever heard in all of the months that I've been alive, and it's so long. It goes on forever. They're like, scrub, scrub, we're singing about scrubbing, we're scrubbing all the sheets. It's like anything someone who hates musicals talks about when they say why they hate musicals. These are the songs. In fact, the director, something King, Paul King, I think, didn't even want to admit to it being a musical. He said it's more of like a movie with music. It's like, what do you think that is? Don't try to escape accountability just because these songs were written in 2 days at most. So back up in his room, Willie is all depressed about, having his life taken away from him unfairly. And he's like talking to Noodle, who's like, sorry, the greedy beat the needy every single time. But that somehow inspires Willie to like take out his mobile chocolate factory. This movie takes place in the 1940s, by the way, 25 years before the events of the first movie in 1971, I suppose. They're clearly connecting it to that Gene Wilder film as opposed to the 2005 one, which whatever, all good. He makes a chocolate for Noodle, which has like this lightning in a bottle silver lining thing that makes people optimistic, because she's like, I've never had chocolate before, and he's like, I'm gonna make you your first. And he also tells the story, the origin story within the origin story of how he became to be an eccentric chocolatier who just got off a boat. He used to sail around on that boat with his mom. I don't know why, but she would save cocoa beans every year to make him one chocolate bar on his birthday, and he said it was the best chocolate he'd ever tasted. And so he had this dream of being like, well, I'm gonna open a chocolate shop one day and everyone's gonna be happy when they eat it. And she's like, good for you, Charlie. I'll always be watching over you, even when I'm a dead body rotting in the ground, aren't ya?
Every good thing in this world started with a dream. And when you do share chocolate with the world, I'll be right there beside you. Promise? Do better than that. I think you promise.
That's some clear dead mom in a movie foreshadowing that this woman is on the brink of death. She basically just said, I can do better than that by dying of terminal illness that I got from living on this boat for some reason, because that's exactly what happens next. Willie is like, shortly thereafter, she took ill and left me all alone. And now he feels like it's his dream to open that chocolate factory because he really feels like when he does that, she'll be right by his side again, like she promised. After all, any dream can come true, is what he was told. And that's why the mom has to die. It gives him his motivation for life. Why does this children's movie have to so heavily lean on the plot device of death and parents dying? I don't know, but I'm guessing it's because Roald Dahl fought in World War II, and at that time he saw death all around him, and he processed that trauma by reminding children that death is all around them too, spying on them through their bedroom doors at night, just waiting to steal away their parents and grandparents one sad day. And as kids, we cherished that message because it came with a side of magic candy, along with several other Roald Dahl-isms, such as babies who don't make it, children being permanently disfigured by a horrible accident, main characters with randomly American accents, and of course, frequent reminders that outside of your family, most adults at best don't care about you, and at worst are actively trying to hurt you. But don't worry about these books getting banned from the school library, because they also usually feature blatant racism, the one form of free speech always protected by the US government. You're a grand old flag, you're a high-flying flag, maybe Africans liked being slaves. Every heart loves war, it's what you pay taxes for, and why women are forced to give birth. We love our penis. God, you know what? I'm gonna stop. I don't need to sing in that voice anymore. I didn't realize how ridiculous it sounded until I said the word penis guns. There were some serious issues in there though. Just try and get the message separated from the sound of it. Why does my stomach feel weird today? Oh, probably because for breakfast I had a bag of sweet chili Doritos and an egg. I'm just thankful that there's at least one member of this household who's eating food that's fit for human consumption. My dog Toast. Thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Sundays, Toast's new favorite food. And I love watching Toast get excited about mealtime while knowing that she's eating the best food available for her little paws and mouth and teeth. That's because Sundays is healthy dog food that's also easy to store. Most dog foods, it's one or the other. There's this other brand of healthy dog food that you have to keep refrigerated or in the freezer, and I just don't see myself making that a thing. And also, I don't want my dog eating frozen anything. That sounds cold on the teeth. Unlike other fresh dog food, Sundays does not require refrigeration because it's air dried. You just pour and serve to your hungry dog. It's made from a short list of human grade ingredients because I don't want Toast to eat anything that I wouldn't eat myself. No, I'm not eating these flakes of dried meat, but you know, with each serving, your dog is getting 90% meats, 10% vegetables, and 0% synthetic nutrients sprinkled on top to make it seem like a complete meal. You're getting the real food nutrition. Toast transitioned to eating this food beautifully. She devours it, as you can see, and I'm very excited because other pet owners reported seeing changes in their dog, such as healthier coat, better digestion, more energy, even fresher breath. I think every dog could use a little bit of that. Now you can feed your dog top quality food without the stress or the hassle of trying trying to keep it refrigerated, and every box is shipped right to your door. Never worry about running out to the store and hauling a big bag of dog food ever again. Those days are over, ma'am. I love that I can just throw this in my pantry like I would with dry dog food, but I'm actually giving Toast something much more beneficial for her health. You gotta try Sundays. If you have a dog, your dog needs Sundays. Plus, you can get 50% off your first order with Sundays. Go to sundaysfordogs.com/NickDiRamio or use code NickDiRamio at checkout. Thanks, Sundays, for giving my dog the best in town and for sponsoring today's video. So anyway, because Noodle has the Silver Linings chocolate, she's inspired by a good idea to help Willy Wonka in his plan that he hatches to sneak out in one of the laundry carts and then steal the ingredients he needs to make all the money he needs to pay off his debt and Noodle's debt, but he needs some special ingredients, like the milk of a giraffe that he needs to get from the zoo. Noodle remembers that, oh, when there was like a fancy aristocrat in town, Mrs. Scrubbits was totally obsessed with him and she wants to marry rich and all of that. So they're like, okay, great, we'll figure out a plan from there. Meanwhile, that chief of police who gave Willy Wonka a hard time earlier, he takes an elevator down to the vault beneath the church, and it's revealed that he's being bribed by the 3 chocolatiers, who they call in this movie the Chocolate Cartel, so that he totally hassles and blackmails anybody who's creating a competing business to get them out of town. And you guessed it, it comes with an annoying song.
700 boxes, that's a lot of chocolate. Me too.
Not the bad guys being these queer-coded ass candy makers, especially when Chalamet is completely glossing over the fact that Willy Wonka has never been hitting the low end of the Kinsey scale as far as public perception goes. Timothée keeps butching up this character to seem like some smooth American milk chocolate maverick so that we no longer remember him as the Italian twink who narrowly survived having sex with Armie Hammer. For me, it's not exactly connecting to the shrieking, curly-haired miniature flute-playing Wonka that Gene Wilder brought us, and that's kind of the version that's cemented into pop culture, so I don't know. For me, it's not hitting. I don't like to generalize, except for when it helps to support my point. And all signs point to Willy Wonka being a little bit, you know. He excels in a creative field. He acknowledges the positive influence of his loving mother, and he wears a dandy little top hat with purple silk. Not to mention the fact that he has no romantic interests in the first movie or this one. So can't we all just at least agree that he's representing the eccentric asexuals of the world? Or maybe pansexual, depending on whether or not he's those Oompa Loompas. In which case, good evening, Mr. Wonka. I got that purchase order for Brazilian cocoa beans ready for your signature. Don't look at me like that. I really want to marry someone rich. You think I care what you think? I've been melting a Snickers bar between my ass cheeks all day. I'm really going for it. The only issue is I cannot control the trackpad of my computer with this glove. I love a costume moment. I love an uncomfortable sitting in this way for the rest of the video costume moment. Don't you, Mr. Wonka? Wonka donka tonka. Yeah. Anyway, the chief of police is sufficiently bribed by all of this chocolate bribery. The next day, Willy and Noodle go and enact their plan to distract the Mrs. Scrubbits by pretending or misleading her to believe that that guy, whose name I don't remember still, Mr. Douchebag, what is his name in it? Tom Davis plays the character. Bleacher. He plays Mr. Bleacher, although he seems to be most well known for his role in the Paddington films, which frankly were big successful movies. The first 2 directed by this same director of Wonka, Paul King, and a lot of people pointed out that this Wonka movie basically follows like a carbon copy of the Paddington 2 script, which was a runaway success and a big surprise in terms of critical reception when it was released. So people are just trying to capture that lightning in the bottle here. Regardless, Bleacher, they mislead Miss Scrubbits to believe that Bleacher is a nobleman from some other part of the world, I don't know. And so she's all taken with him, and that's a distraction. I need 2 fingers to do this, it turns out. That's how they distract the 2 people so that he can sneak out, Wonka can sneak out in the laundry cart, as they said he would do. This is the first of 2 secret heist type plans that him and Noodle conduct throughout the movie. It's a lot of the same. So anyway, they get to the zoo where he can find the giraffe to milk. It's a whimsical movie. Okay, giraffes can have milk without having a baby. He gives it the wig hairs. Can you tell they're driving me crazy? I'm just gonna have to ignore it. I'm gonna pretend like it's not a thing. They give the guardian of the zoo, the security guard, a chocolate that's called my one big night out, where it mimics the effects of basically getting drunk, and then he passes out. It's damn, you're really just poisoning people up in here. And so while they're milking the giraffe, Noodle talks about how she dreams of what her parents must be like, although she's never heard anything about them, and she's been told that they're dead.
When I was a kid, I always hoped that I'd find my parents. And they live in this beautiful old building full of books.
Psh, nerd. What? I get that this movie is about like believing in your dreams or whatever, but this girl is out here hoping that her parents abandoned her to go live in a Barnes & Noble. We can do better than that, right? Dream of something a little more likely or attainable, like some kind of new child exploitation law, or getting famous on TikTok, I don't know. Her dream is a little depressing and I don't support that. I choose to bully her instead. Also, the halfway point feels a little late in the movie to introduce this device where glowing, floating doodles help illustrate the character's hopes and dreams. I feel like they were planning to shoot this as a dream sequence, but then the SAG-AFTRA strike had them be like, how about it's just squiggly lines? What about that? Like, we'll do it. This movie had several rounds of reshoots, including 2 periods of reshooting that were a year apart, a full-on year apart, to the point where the movie was originally meant to come out in March of 2023. They were still doing reshoots on that day. So clearly a lot of rewriting happened to try and make this movie not terrible. I'm not sure how far we got with that endeavor, but they definitely steered away from what the original announcement of the movie promised us, which was like the tagline in the earlier posters being how Willy became Wonka. And it was clearly meant to be more of like a telling us how, like, oh, then this happened and that's why he limped, or this happens and that's why he's suspicious and that's why he's lying about the golden ticket, or whether he was planning to have those kids in the factory go missing, like whatever. All of these unanswered questions from the first movie and the book being answered. But honestly, this movie, although it leads to them giving us a more likable Wonka character because he's very earnest and well-meaning in this, they don't connect any of that with how he becomes this like bankrupt, kind of corrupt chocolatier that we meet in the book. Because if you remember, in the book, Willy Wonka has this evil streak about him. Like, we're like, what is he planning here? Like, was he planning for all this to happen? He doesn't seem to care when the kids are going missing. He's very glib about it when they get sucked up the chocolate tubes and whatever. Regardless, him and Noodle sing a song. She's like, don't open your heart to someone who's nice to you because they all are just, the angry laundry people and I'm an orphan forever. But Willy Wonka sings a song that he's like, Noodle, Noodle, I think you're cool, so let's have oodles of fun. They do this surreal floating on the balloon thing. Again, I told you, the like heartwarming moments in this feel unearned because in a Roald Dahl story, it tends to be like so bleak and dark, like everywhere you turn, that when you do have like a triumphant moment, it feels way more special. In this one, it's like they're trying to give you a heartwarming thing in every scene, and none of the bad things seem that bad. Like, I think the device of him getting trapped to pay the rent was very Roald Dahlian, and I think it's also based on a short story that the writers read from the Roald Dahl estate called The Landlady. A lot of these characters are based on other Roald Dahl characters. You also have the 3 chocolatiers, the chocolate cartel, based on the bad guys from Fantastic Mr. Fox, for example. One of the producers was Roald Dahl's grandson, so he helped them to create what I feel like are mostly authentic characters for the writer, but the script itself just feels like it's trying to get there. Anyway, the police put the kibosh on him after he stole the giraffe milk, and he gets back and he's like, oh, those police are making it hard. And that's when Mr. Crunch, the accountant, is like, I used to be an accountant for Fickle Gruber or whatever. And he tells this whole story now. We have to sit through another story of a storybook pictures.
I was Slugworth's accountant. Slugworth, Ficklegruber, and Prodnose, they've been watering down their chocolate and storing the excess in a secret vault. The cartel use it to bribe, blackmail, and bludgeon the competition.
Is the script for your blockbuster film taking too long to write? Do you find integrating key information into the main plot of your movie a little too hard? Introducing the supporting character who just tells us stuff. This character isn't particularly important to the storyline until they provide some vital context that they obtained from a previous experience happening before the main events of this movie. Seen here with a handy whiteboard explainer video, resurrecting the overdone YouTube trend of 2013 and giving it new life as a cheap, shitty little section of B-roll used to cover up the 3-minute expositional monologue to spoon-feed details to your audience so that everyone will know what's going on, whether they're actually paying attention, half listening while looking at their phone, or if they're a room full of concubines in medically induced comas locked away on a hair farm, being pumped full of powdered collagen via feeding tube so that their heads can be shaved every 8 months when there's enough regrowth to make one human hair wig that will sell on Amazon for $80. Okay, don't laugh, that's actually the setting of a real Roald Dahl story called Harriet in the Hellhole Hair Farm. Wait, nope, I think that was actually a dream I had when I fell asleep shopping for a realistic looking Oompa Loompa wig. Obviously, we never quite got there. But if any of you watching at home are comatose girls living on a hair farm, can you ask your boss if he would sponsor me? Thank you. And sleep tight, I guess. So anyway, now that the whole merry gang of prisoners know what Wonka's trying to do, which is sell his chocolate so that he can buy them all out of slavery, then they are kind of joining in on the scheme. They're like, they open the windows, they're like, we'll help too. And then then the little girl is like, Wonka owes her a lifetime supply of chocolate, basically, because of reasons. He promised it at one point. And she's like, well, I'm gonna help you too. Oh my God, I knew I would forget to mention this because it's such a dumb detail. Willy Wonka can't read or write. That's the reason why he pretended like, oh yeah, this contract looks good. Even after Noodle warned him to read the fine print, he was like, yeah, it seems to be in order, because he can't read, which she called him out for. But now she's offering to help.
Thanks. I've got something for you too. It's an A, your first letter. I'm teaching you to read.
Wait, is she starting by teaching him the word A? Or does she think he's so bad at reading that he doesn't even know what an alphabet is? There is an A in his own last name, sis. And you know he's always staring at that chocolate bar that his dead mom gave him, which he should call the dead mom delight. Also, the paper sound effects in this movie are ridiculous. He literally turns a paper like that and it goes... That's like a Foley artist. They love to sweeten the most random sound. Like if you're paying for sound design for $1 million plus movie, like you better have sound effects coming out your wazoo. So that's why you'll always hear like, if you move like this, you'll hear the chair creak or the leather of their jacket. It's because there's a Foley artist sweetening all of those real life practical sound effects so that it's satisfying. It feels good to hear that paper noise. And you'll hear it a lot in this movie. Don't touch a piece of paper without expecting that sound. Or like whenever they eat chocolate, you'll hear like that weird like click of chocolate between their teeth or something being thrown in their mouth. It's a common one in movies as well. So anyway, the gang's all in. She's gonna teach him how to read at some point that we don't see in the movie. So that's why I feel like it's not well integrated as a plot point, but they're all gonna help. Like he's like, if the police are gonna stop me every time I try to sell my chocolate, I have to disappear at a blink of an eye, like a magician. And it's like, you seem to live in a world where magic exists. You were floating with balloons earlier, but whatever. I guess they need to lean on this plumber to help them use the sewers to escape. Also, wait, if they all had jobs before and Mrs. Scrubbits is like keeping them there so that they can pay off their debt, why not just let them go to their real jobs? Like they would make the money and pay her. But I guess she really just wants the free labor. It's hard to understand. Either way, he surprises this one guy who's like, he basically gets stood up by the woman he proposes to until Wonka gives him some sort of chocolate with this crazy ingredient. You know, like it's always some far off mythological ingredient. Like this is the hair of a slug from the bottom of a bug. This is Neptune's trident. This is Santa Claus's jizz. Like, and it somehow relates to what their like effect is of the chocolate. Because it can't just taste good. It has to provide some sort of mood-altering effect. In this case, he knows how to dance on a table and ask a lady to marry him in one of the worst songs I've ever heard.
Put your hand into your pocket and get yourself some Wonka chocolate. You've never had chocolate like this.
Hey, did you know that pocket and chocolate almost sort of rhyme? Because this movie is gonna remind you through about 4 different songs that you'll wish were 50% more catchy. I know there aren't a lot of options for words that rhyme with chocolate, so I don't know, maybe try moving away from even including that in your rhyme scheme. Don't try to just force it. Maybe just shut the up a little bit. Movie, maybe just shut the up. That's my review. Also, so far, we've seen Wonka feed people chocolate that makes them feel more creative, more optimistic, chocolate that intoxicates them, increases their confidence, lowers their inhibitions, and I'm left wondering, at what point is he just selling drugs? They sang, "We've never had chocolate like this." Well, have you tried drugs? Because that seems to be offering a similar experience. He's dealing drugs to you and your children, Europe, and he's not even good at it. It's not pure. He's cutting it with all this milk and sugar. Also, you have to sit through those singing and tap dancing numbers, which are a little bit nauseating. It's actually healthier for you to do a regular drug of some kind. Do you know how often you get to say that in life? Rarely. Oompa Loompa rarely ever. Oompa Loompa, why do I like the way my chest looks in this? I'm like, oh, I'm kind of serving. Yes, my hair is unbrushed, but I just woke up. What do you want from me? I just woke up, Mr. Wonka. So he jumps down the sewer every time the police almost catch him, while spreading his amazing chocolate creations that create all sorts of pandemonium in the town, such as things that we've seen them doing all the time.
Just pop one in and everything becomes a Broadway show.
The news that makes you gasp, the jokes that make you laugh. All that you say and do all day will be choreographed.
Ugh, that face, I hate it. I don't know if this was an intentional acting choice, but for the most part, Timothée Chalamet is playing Wonka as this well-mannered, soft-spoken young man, so it's kind of jarring when all of a sudden he switches on the behavior. He's like that guy who gets you high on mushrooms and then starts saying and doing weird just to mess with you. Well, actually, that would line up with the 1971 Wonka. Remember when he gave those kids the time of their lives in this land of candy and then took them directly onto the most up boat ride down a river where they just watched their young friend drown. His personality is giving sociopathy, and his facial expressions are giving get it away from me, get it away from me. The news that makes you gasp, the jokes that make you laugh. No matter what you do, I'll say, well, they will Corey. Like, shut up. I hate that song. I hate that song, and I hate this movie, but I love my look. Easy breezy, beautiful, orange eyeshadow pressed all over my face as a face paint. What's next? Okay, we have a brief glimpse of Noodle teaching Willie how to read the word cat. So I take it back. There is one moment where she's teaching him, but mainly it's a big number about how much everyone loves his chocolate while the chocolate cartel continues to bribe the chief of police, who is seen next having gained weight, because it's hilarious when people have eating issues and can't stop it. The running gag is like he's so well bribed with chocolate that he's becoming bigger and bigger, which I'm just like, if they had written this in the 70s, I would expect that kind of joke, but nowadays with so much awareness around disordered eating, I don't think it's super responsible or funny, so rude. There's also a scene earlier on, see, all these stupid moments are just talking and not visual, so it's hard for me to remember to recount them to you, but in the earlier scene with Noodle and they're coming up with an idea, Wonka explains that whenever something goes missing in his life, it's because the little orange man took it, and everyone's like, okay, he's crazy, right? Like, we all know he's crazy, like there's no little orange man, but there is, and he appears in this next scene when Wonka's working late at night in his room making chocolate. We see the Willy Wonka abomination known as Hugh Grant playing a Oompa Loompa. Like, never have we seen the Oompa Loompas talk without being like, I'm singing a song. And so this is weird. Also, there was backlash about this too. They did not cast an actual little person to play an Oompa Loompa, which is like, Hollywood tries to do this thing where they take roles that are traditionally given to little people away from them, which on some level, I suppose they think, oh, well, it's good if we're not profiting off of their body size, but it's just like little people have a hard time getting any roles in Hollywood at all. So when there's something traditionally given to little people that's given to an average height person, it's just like reducing the number of jobs that they can have to work in the industry anyway. So the same thing happened with that Snow White reboot that's supposedly coming out that's gonna be terrible. Like, apparently the whole movie leaked and they had to reshoot a whole bunch of it because, for one, the little person community was like, this is so not it. I remember Peter Dinklage said something. Either way, we now, for some reason, are just now learning why this Oompa Loompa is following Willy Wonka around. Apparently, Willy Wonka stole 4 chocolate beans from the tree that this guy was guarding, and the rest of the Oompa Loompas, although he lies, he's like, they look up to me so much and they love me, but I have to go get retribution. When you steal from an Oompa Loompa, we take back what's ours 1,000-fold. And it's like, well, then why are you just now asking him or telling him what you're there for? Like, you've been following him around doing mischievous stuff off screen for the whole of his life. Also, what we see him take in that jungle are cocoa bean pods, not cocoa bean individuals. I have one of these plastic hairs literally in my eyeball. I hate it. Do I look weird without the wig? Yeah, that's weird to me. Sorry, head and eyeballs, you're gonna be feeling this one. Much better. I just love to dance. I just want to dance. This is giving that Glasgow Wonka experience. Good enough. I'm looking a little beachy and a little sexy with it. I like that. And an ass full of cream. I can't stop saying that. I know it's bad. Anyway, I think that's better than it was. Some more structure. I gotta stop with the wig. We have so much more movie to talk about. For example, in the next scene, so whatever, the Oompa Loompa hits him with a frying pan. There's a lot of hitting people in the head with this movie. Like, you wouldn't expect that much physical violence, but I guess it's the 1940s, so people can just be like bonkin' Wonka, bonka the Wonka on the head. The police officer clubs him in the head. This guy hits him with a frying pan. It's like, girl, he's gonna have a big head injury. Maybe that head injury is supposed to explain why he becomes a little weird in the later years. I would buy that. So anyway, somehow, all those Mrs. Scrubbits prisoners, they find a place for Willy Wonka to finally open up his chocolate shop. I don't know where he gets the overhead for this. Like, shouldn't he just be putting that money towards freeing them all? But whatever. They apparently take a detour from that ultimate goal to rent this chocolate shop for him so that he can finally achieve his goal of opening a chocolate shop, even though it's like, weren't the police gonna stop you every time you do this? You can't hide in the sewer if you own a store. Like, I don't even know how they would do this. Meanwhile, the chocolate cartel is looking at this all go up and they're like, uh-oh. And Grubsworth or Gruber or whatever, he's like, that girl Noodle is really sticking a fork in our asses or whatever. It's like, she's ruining. And the other one is like, I thought you said she would never be a problem for us. So he's like, well, I'll see to it that she isn't. It's like, why would you ever think that a little girl would be a problem for you? Why would you have thought that before meeting Willy Wonka? Like, why do you even know who she is? Why would she have any business stopping you from being chocolate cartels? Either way, he shows up to the door of Mrs. Scrubbits to be like, I have something I need your help to put a stop to their business. So he gets them involved in the plan. But we finally get to see the beginning of the Willy Wonka we know and some people love in this scene where he sings a song while opening his 1940s version of the chocolate shop. I did kind of was vaguely interested in seeing how the chocolate factory that we saw when the doors open in the 1971 movie relates to this one, his original iteration of the chocolate store. We don't spend enough time here for me to really be excited by it. And for some reason, all of the large candy and magical treats that the people are eating here don't look as appetizing as they did in the 70s movie. Why is that? I don't know. Maybe because it looks like fake food. I feel like in the 1970s movie, they were really scooping handfuls of pudding into their mouths. It looked good as a kid, but now it's what is this?
A world of your own, place to go when you're feeling alone.
Oh, what do you know? The cure for my childhood loneliness is spending money at your business. How convenient, Willie. I guess there's that self-centered, morally gray representation of corporate greed that was in the book. I almost didn't even think we would see a glimpse of those traits in this Wonka movie. And I definitely didn't think it would be while watching him do that annoying little rhythmic march around his chocolate tree. A world of your own. What is that? On the press tour, Timothée Chalamet was bragging about the dance lessons he took for this movie after he got the advice from Tom Cruise. And I guess this was the result. Did Tom Cruise also teach the dance lessons? Because if so, it looks like he was just trying to create a situation where he could have you enter his garage wearing leggings. If you're even taking advice from Tom Cruise, I know I don't want to be friends. Ugh. My God, this wig. I literally have hair in my eyes. Anyway, we go back to the chocolate store and we see all the kids love it. All the adults love it. People are paying 100 silver sovereign at a time to get Willie's chocolate. And the kids are or the noodle is we're gonna actually make it out of this poverty or whatever. She's American, but whatever. Whatever. As one guy's leaving, his hair starts to turn purple. And then we realize other people's, their hair is growing fast and turning purple and whatever. And that's when Willie's oh my God, let me taste this flower. Oh no. There's something been added.
Yeti sweat? Most powerful hair potion in the world.
My daughter took one bite and just look at her.
It appears that the chocolates have been poisoned. Poison?
He poisoned my child.
Okay, he just showed us pretty much the worst way to release a statement about the suspected food safety issue at one's business. Geez, Willie, don't any of those Oompa Loompas I've imagined you sleeping with provide any sort of public relations services? Because if not, I've got room in my roster for another client, Mr. Wonka. And by roster, I mean my big orange ass. No? Okay, fine. Then you deserve the tragic events that unfold. The people are angry that they've been fed tainted candy, and they react strongly and swiftly.
Get from stashing my daughter.
Jesus, lady, that almost killed several innocent people. What is wrong with you? Be a normal mom by reporting him to the Better Business Bureau and then retelling this story in painstaking detail to everyone you work with for the next week. What I want to know is whether the good people of everywhere Von Berg, Europe, have been just waiting to take part in a bloodthirsty riot, or are these rage episodes happening because they've ingested Yeti hormones? Because that makes it either a fascinating case study on mob mentality or the discovery of a new black market performance enhancer that I'm going to sell to Russian gymnastics coaches. I don't care if they beat the US at the Olympics. Didn't you hear that politically charged song parody I sang earlier? Where I use this voice and I, abruptly introduce slavery to the conversation? Rewind if you don't. It'll really lighten the mood at your next family party. You're a grand old flag. Sorry, keep doing it. So anyway, the angry mob burns down his whole thing, and he doesn't know who might have poisoned this candy, but we have a feeling it was Mr. Grubesworth, and it was. I don't know when they definitively say it, but basically he shows up to Wonka and he's like, I have a deal for you. If you take all of your stuff and leave town and never make chocolate again, we're gonna pay off the debt of all of those people that you work with, and including giving Noodle enough money to live the rest of her life forever. Toys, books, because she loves books, remember? So anyway, after much sadness and several beats of sadness and whatever, emotional heft, finally Wonka gets on the boat and leaves. And he's sitting there on his boat when all of a sudden, here comes Hugh Grant Oompa Loompa again. And he's like, I'm gonna once again ask you for the thing that you owe me, this billions of beans that you owe me or whatever. But Wonka really hasn't been taking him that seriously up until now. Oh, but then he gets an idea because the guy shook his hand, Grubbermeiser, and he sees the imprint of his ring on his hand and realizes it's the same ring layout that Noodle had, because Noodle has this thing on her neck that she's like, this is the only thing I have of my mom left. And he sees something in his hand and he's like, I just realized something. And then when they go and talk to the captain, they realize the captain has just been a pile of bombs. So they jump into the ocean and avoid being killed by the 3 chocolate cartel men narrowly. They narrowly and merrily escape the killings. Back at the scrub house, like all of the people are released with Wonka's money, but then the other one, Noodle, when it's her turn to leave, they're like, oh, he actually paid us extra to keep you here forever. He doesn't like having little orphans like you on the streets or whatever. So she's like, wow, damn, he really hates me for some reason. Slugworth, I think is his name. So instead, she gets locked in that bird coop, which is like this movie's version of the Chokey. And that's when Wonka opens up the window and he's like, I swam all the way back here and put it all together. I think I know why Slugworth has it out for you, but we gotta go get to that chocolate vault basically and look at his books to get proof of any of this. So as the accountant previously laid out, it's like the chocolate vault is protected by the priest and then by all of these chocolate crazed monks and then this like karate person in the lower level. So it's like, okay, we have another heist section of the movie. That's great. The priest is played by Rowan Atkinson. The chocolatier people, the good guys, they break into the zoo, get that giraffe back the same way they did it the first time. So that's fun to see again. Everyone loves repetition. And they use the giraffe to chase the monk and all of the priest and everyone out of the chocolate house. Oh, this was such a weird part. Why did this feels like the reshooty part because it's like really rushed. Down in the vault, Noodle and Willy Wonka are looking for the books that will find out, like, proof that all of this is corrupt or whatever. I think they're just trying to prove that the people are corrupt because that will get them sent to jail and he'll be able to, from then on, I guess, be a chocolatier. So she's looking at the book and she's like, oh my God, they've been giving bribes of chocolate to the police for all of this time. And that's when Wonka's like, oh, you don't want her to be in jail just because she's an urchin. You know that ring you have? Well, Slugworth has one just like it. And so she's like, wait, what? And then he's like, yes, you're technically my niece because my brother married some who he was too stupid to even survive long enough for them to get married. And then your mom, my sister-in-law, came to me when you were sick and I said that I would take you to get taken care of. And that from there, that's all apparently Noodle needs to know to put together the rest of the story of her life before she was conscious as a human being, because she's like connecting dots all over the place.
She put me down a laundry chute. Mrs. Scrubbit found me. She saw the ring, thought it was an N, and called me Noodle. It was Z for Zebedee.
When your mother returned, I told her you had died. She was heartbroken, of course.
Well, I imagine she was at least caught off guard because, well, this was sort of marketed as a kid's movie. But sure, infanticide and false imprisonment in theaters just in time for the holidays. What a charming little nightmare this has been. Noodle is like, oh, the N for Noodle is actually Z for Zebedee, the name of my father, as he just kind of said. And then he's like, yep, that's right. So we're related. That's why we're 2 of the 3 people of color in this movie. So that's why he's gonna shoot them both. And that's why we've talked about dead babies so far in the movie. That's a lot. It's a lot. I'm not gonna say it's not a lot for kids, but you know, did you ever see The Witches, that adaptation from Roald Dahl? It was up from the beginning. Now it's time to really close up some of these loose ends with some more meaningless, heartfelt moments.
My mom, what was her name?
I don't think I could remember that.
Dorothy Smith. It says so right here. Well, what do you know? I guess you did teach me to read after all.
Oh yeah, and it's been a real joy, assuming that that's been happening in between all of the actual on-camera action. We didn't need to actually see him learning to read or have him face some sort of real consequence later on in the movie for not knowing how to read or having his lack of literacy used against him by the bad guys in some way. It saves time that it all happened off screen, and it makes this moment of character development feel even more unearned than the rest of the ones in this sappy schlockfest. By the way, why was Wonka doing an impression of Scott Disick for that line?
I guess you did teach me to read after all.
And the paper sound effects are papering once again with that book, just so you know. Nancy Joe, her name is Nancy. Like, you better wrap this shit up, that's all I know. Nancy Joe. So upon discovering, oh God, we found out and we have proof and whatever, the chocolate cartel put the kid and Wonka in a vault of chocolate and they're getting drowned in it, basically. And he's like sprinkling his ingredients into the chocolate, being like, if I'm gonna die in chocolate, it's gonna be Wonka chocolate. It's like you have very few ingredients to flavor that chocolate. And what are you adding to it? More drugs? You gotta stop with this. But right in the nick of time, this little orange man, who we know to be an Oompa Loompa, but Noodle has never believed to actually be there, shows up and she's like, oh my God, it's a little orange man. Oh yeah, when there was that standoff, sorry, I forgot this too. When there was the standoff with the gun, he said, can you do me one favor? Give this thing of chocolates to a little orange man. And he gives Slugworth this thing of chocolates. And he's like, yeah, I'll definitely do that. So anyway, right before the kids are about to drown, Willy Wonka's friend, Oompa Loompa, flies down into the basement and drains all the chocolate because he's like, oh no, you're not dying before I get my chocolate back that you stole, I think is his motive there. It's a very interesting Deus Ex Machina, if you ask me. So anyway, the kid and Wonka escape. They're covered in chocolate for 5 seconds, and they tell the police, they're like, oh, look, that book is full of proof that they are bribing the police. And then the police officer is like, oh, and our boss's name is in here a lot, so all 4 of you are arrested. And Slugworth is like, well, we're rich, we can get the best lawyers. And then, whoa, they start floating away because those chocolates that he gave to the Oompa Loompa, he knew that they weren't gonna do that favor for him. And they ate all of the chocolates in the elevator. So now we find out there are those floating chocolates from the very first scene. Isn't that a little ending? So now I guess because they're floating away, they're gonna be caught and sent to jail, which is another plot hole, by the way, because in the 1971 movie, which takes place 25 years later, it's said that Slugworth, Gruber, and Blunky, they had spies going into the chocolate factory, and that's what made Willy Wonka take on Oompa Loompas as his workers and close down the factory so no one comes in and no one comes out. So like, when did they get out of jail in order to do this? They would have needed to escape to even have spies later on. What is the answer? Why did they do it like that? Why did they do it like that? They're trying so hard to connect to the movie that came out earlier, and they just don't. They just fail to do so. But anyway, the whole town gets to drink chocolate now out of the fountain, because that's not disgusting. It's also, this is the watered down chocolate that no one liked from the bad guys, but whatever. Wonka actually sees his mother, because he knew in his dreams when he opened his chocolate factory finally, his mother would be right by his side. And obviously not literally, but spiritually. Because at first he's like, I thought my mother would be here, and Noodle was like, he didn't really think she would be like resurrected. And he was like, no, I don't know. I can't read, I don't know. And so he finally opens that chocolate bar that she gave him, the mother, when he was a wee lad. And it comes with a note behind a golden ticket, foreshadowing, that says, the secret ingredient is not the chocolate, but it's who you share it with, which is to me like very much, it's not the journey or the place you're going, it's the friends you made along the way. That's a weak ass fucking way to make this all seem like it had a purpose. But then at the same time, he's like, well, Noodle, it's time. And she's like, time for what?
Do you know how many people in this city are named D. Smith? Luckily, you have a friend who works at the telephone exchange, and she spent the entire afternoon ringing around.
We found her.
I know all of the antagonists just like levitated to justice, but this is still the most impossible plot point in the entire film. Wonka, you literally just found out what her mom's name was, like down in that vault, and then you immediately went to drowning in chocolate and then escaping and sending these people to jail over the course of like an hour. So when would you have been able to share with the other people, this telephone lady, what the mom's name was and have her spend all afternoon calling people around? This makes it look like Wonka actually knew Noodle's mom's name the whole time, but was keeping it a secret so that he could have the free child labor in his 1940s highly flammable chocolate shop. And that's why you're under arrest, Mr. Wonka. That's right, FBI here. I've been working undercover as an Oompa Loompa PR representative for Willy Wonka, just so I could bust him for all of his FDA and OSHA violations and for endangering the welfare of a minor. And in case you were wondering, no, the FBI profile didn't ask me to be so seductive about it, but I can't help it if I look good in orange. Oh, Oompa Loompa. Anyway, that's all we have to say for Wonka, the 2023 piece of shit movie that I just told you about. I don't like it. I did not like it. I don't want to see it again. And I don't think Timothée Chalamet was well cast in this role. I know people are going to disagree with me because it wasn't such a bad movie. And if you watched it without audio, you might think it was good because the cinematography, the visuals were all pretty stunning. But no, to me, it was rushed in certain areas. You could tell there were lots of reshoots. I don't feel like it gave me enough of a reason to feel like satisfied about why the next movie takes place. It's just a no from me. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, give this video a big thumbs up if you want to see even more reboot or prequels broken down here on Clip Breakdown. Leave me some ideas. Oh, and most importantly, if you're new here, I would love to have you click that subscribe button right over here. That way you never miss new videos from me. I upload a whole bunch of them as often as I can. Make sure you hit that notification bell icon. That way you'll always be the first to know when I'm bursting through your fountain in the town square so that you can drink me up like a liquid. Also, I've got merch and a Patreon where you can access exclusive bonus episodes and virtual watch parties, which are so much fun. We recently watched Irish Wish, the Lindsay Lohan Netflix movie, which I'm thinking of covering on the main channel. Haven't decided. Let me know if I should. You guys are all the greatest. Thank you so much for melting a Snickers bar between your ass cheeks with me today. I will see you next time. We've never had chocolate like this.